Everyone knows Washington is our national capital, but it's also a beautiful city, a city of lovely parks and impressive memorials, some honoring our great leaders, others commemorating great moments in our history. Even its historical structures have become memorials. One of these living memorials is the Marine Barracks, not far from the White House. Constructed back in 1801, it's the oldest Marine Corps post in the country. And here you can see and feel the history and tradition that are the heritage of the Corps. So that he took the time to ride through Washington, searching for a suitable site with the Marine Commandant, Lieutenant Colonel Burroughs. The Marines were able to build barracks for 500 officers and men, as well as a residence for the Commandant of the Corps. And all Marine Commandants have lived here since then. The Commandant's house is still very much the way it was in the early days. Since it wasn't destroyed when the British burned Washington, today it is one of the oldest public buildings in the capital. All the other buildings that make up the Marine Barracks have been rebuilt since those early days. But they're still arranged in a quadrangle around the grassy parade ground as they were originally. Souvenirs of campaigns and historic battles have been placed around the spotless quadrangle. The ship's bell came from the destroyer USS Nicholas, which was named for the first commandant, Major Samuel Nicholas. These field pieces were taken from the Chinese back in 1900 during the Boxer Rebellion in the battle for the Tartar city of Peking. Center House, one of the lovely colonial buildings that make up the quadrangle, is the residence for the junior bachelor officers. In the early days, Center House was a popular social center for Washington legislators and diplomats. Souvenirs of Marine Corps history. Here at Center House, the Marines have entertained military and diplomatic visitors for more than a century and a half. The walls of the drum room are covered with mementos of the different units that fought beside the Marines. The drinking mugs are inscribed with the names of officers who have served at the barracks. And since the Corps was first established back in 1775, the Marines have fought for our country on sea and land in almost every corner of the earth. They served on frigates during the French naval wars. And when Florida first became part of our country, they fought the Indians there. In the Mexican War, they stormed Chapultepec and the gates to Mexico City. And back in 1871, they made their first landing in Korea. They were in China for the Boxer Rebellion. And in the First World War, they fought at Chateau Thierry, at Belleau Wood, the Argonne Forest. Later, the Marines carried out the American foreign policy of pacification and protection in Latin America. And in World War II, they were the ones that carried out the bloody assaults on the Japanese-held islands in the Pacific, at Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Saipan, Iwo Jima. And almost 80 years after the first landing in Korea, the Marines again landed there, this time at Incheon, and later heroically fought their way out of the Chinese encirclement at the Chosin Reservoir. And some 15 years later, they were again fighting in the Orient, this time in Vietnam. The echoes of these legendary engagements and the heroic past and they're recalled in ceremonies such as the evening parade, which is held every Friday at the barracks during the summer. Conducted primarily for the benefit of the public, the Marines treat the occasion as a formal reception, and members of the audience are welcomed as honored and invited guests of the Marine Corps. These evening ceremonies feature the world-famous Marine Band, which was once led by John Philip Sousa. The band has been stationed at the barracks since 1801. Traditionally known as the President's Own, they have performed for every president since Thomas Jefferson. The ceremony begins with the entrance of the commanding officer of the barracks, accompanied by the reviewing officer, General Leonard F. Chapman, Jr., the 24th Commandant of the Corps. The U.S. Marine Drum and Bugle Corps, which is also stationed at the barracks, is known as the Commandant's Own. Its members are carefully selected from the musical units throughout the Corps.
Round officer's call.
The ringing of the Nicholas bell begins the parade. And the first one to appear is Chesty, the barracks mascot.
Target fixed bayonet. March on the colors.
The 41 streamers and silver bands displayed on the battle color commemorate the military campaigns in which Marines have participated and span the entire history of our nation, from the American Revolution to the most recent expeditions by the Marine Air Ground Team in the defense of freedom. Decorated with palms, oak leaf cluster, and stars representing 310 awards and campaigns, they reflect the pride, professionalism, and esprit de corps of the United States Marines.
Post the colors! Ceremonial and hey! Sound off!
The band forms at one end of the parade ground. The drum and bugle corps at the other. As the band and the drum and bugle corps countermarch, they blend their musical talents into a single unit.
Battalion! Attend! Hut! Present! Hut!
The Drum and Bugle Corps was originally formed to augment the Marine Band, but it performs independently and has become internationally famous for its intricate marching and outstanding musical skills. silent drill team presents a remarkable exhibition of precision and skill, and all without the help of any commands. This kind of demonstration calls for the same high standards in discipline and teamwork that the Marines demand in all of their training.
Stop. Run aboard. Board. Battalion! On head! Punch!
Ladies and gentlemen, Marine Barracks, Washington, D.C. is honored to have General Leonard F. Chapman, Jr., 24th Commandant of the Marine Corps, as a reviewing officer for this evening's parade.
Raise and march! Sergeant Major, march off the battalion. Prepare for the march-off.
And so, with the roll of drums and the sound of trumpets still echoing across the quadrangle, the evening parade comes to an end. At this colorful parade, the elements of history, pride, and tradition are symbolically fused together, exemplifying a sacred trust for all Marines. The heritage of the Corps.